What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again once again, and today, people, today. So recently, Destiny went down for like nearly a day, give or take, who cares, due to a glitch that was erasing character progression. Now, to touch on the glitch for a moment, you're probably expecting me to drag Bungie through the dirt on this. Bungie as a whole? No. Bungie management? Absolutely. After all, it's not the grunts working on the game's fault, it's management's. It's not the grunts' fault that they're working on a 5-year-old game, actually older once you consider the 2 years of development time. A game that was only ever supposed to be a 2 to 3 year disposable product like Destiny 1, we know we have the Activision Bungie contracts. A game that has since outlived its lifespan, and the cracks are showing. Had Bungie not gutted much of the foundational framework and tried to bolt an MMO onto it. And the worst part, I don't even think that would have been an issue, and not continued to develop it under the mantra of speed over quality. Once you start adding systems that are not finished to a game where you've already gutted large portions of the foundation and continue to do so once a year, shit's gonna happen. It's like that old saying, 99 bugs in the code, 99 bugs in the code, take one down, patch it about 999 bugs in the code. So what happens when you have bugs? You have a foundation that is fractional at best, and then you start adding half-finished content to that code. You're asking for a problem eventually. Now, you may say, but Joker, that sounds really negative. But I actually think it's a testament to how skilled the grunts are that are developing this game, that in spite of managerial mandates, in spite of the tools that they have to work with, in spite of a foundation that is ripped and torn and gutted apart, in spite of shipping half-finished ideas, in spite of everything, this is really the first time the game has broken in such a fashion. And I think that's the most positive thing anyone can say. In spite of all the holes and the leaking and just the nonsense coming from the top down, the grunts keep the train station moving. Not because of Destiny management, but in spite of Destiny management. Because I have to imagine that we would have such a phenomenally better game if these creative, talented minds were able to simply breathe. I honestly think one of the worst things that Bungie management has done is waste the talent of the people keeping this game running. Because any other game would have collapsed by now. We've seen it. Now imagine what Destiny could be if these people were given room to innovate, iterate, and create. But creation takes time, focus, and vision. Destiny, if there was a true desire there from management to make something great, not just minimally viable, could be the next Final Fantasy XIV, because clearly the talent is there, it's just being wasted. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be negative, something in the month of May, Bungie sucks, blah 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 blah. Now this downtime dredged up the conversation of, do we need a Destiny 3? In short, yes. However, need and what would actually happen are two entirely different things. Let's be clear. Without a fundamental shift in the way that Bungie manages or believes the game should be developed, it's pointless. They would not put in the Herculean effort to give Destiny the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn treatment, where they rebuild Destiny from the ground up with the foundational framework to actually be an MMO, or the MMO that they say that it is. And if they're not willing to do that, if they're not willing to put in the time and effort, there's no point, because we'll be right back here in a few years anyways. However, what I do find interesting to this conversation is the general fanboy reaction, because it is positively fascinating. If you tell the average person, hey, look, the game needs a better foundation, one designed to be an MMO, you know, the MMO that Bungie says they want Destiny to be, and explained what would need to be done in order for that to happen, 9 times out of 10 they would probably agree with you, because logic, even if they don't like the idea of losing years of progression. I think most people would find it a fair trade to have a better foundational game than a handful of weapons that are redundant anyways. I think most people, when presented with that calculus, goes, yeah, that maths. However, it's the reaction of this idea from fanboys, which, disclaimer, if you are not one of the people that believe this, then I am clearly not talking about you. Duh. I honestly think the reaction from fanboys is fascinating. It's Orwellian. There is so much cynical doublethink going on that I don't even know how these people make these arguments and not see how ridiculous they are. So when the idea of Destiny 3 is brought to these people, the reaction is, oh Joker, we don't need a Destiny 3, you idiot. Don't you remember how long it took Bungie to get Destiny 2 right? Destiny 3 would be a mess. It would take years to fix, you jerk. At which point I just sit there perplexed because it's basically a tacit admission that I was right all along. And it's only okay to say now because the Destiny community has this weird obsession with current versus old, not even new versus old. Current is good unless some top streamer or YouTuber says it's bad, and then it's bad. But you dare not say that at the beginning of a DLC, even though the writing is on the wall, or you will kill the hype. But as time goes on, it becomes okay to talk about how the other expansions were bad because they're also not current, which, if you'll remember, was often the justification for sunsetting. Oh, it's old. Oh, that content sucked. It was bad. What was Bungie thinking? At which point I just have to throw my hands in the air and go, why exactly did I get so much shit for pointing that out? And continue to do so even though the cycle repeats over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? I don't get these arguments, I'm gonna be honest. It's a total consumer mindset. And let's not mistake ourselves. If Bungie showed off a Destiny 3 teaser trailer tomorrow, the general consensus from a lot of these people would likely shift from, oh, we don't need a Destiny 3 to, oh my god, that Destiny 3 trailer was the coolest, most hype thing I've ever seen in my life. We've all seen these sort of reactions. I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know or has not seen. But back to a development of Destiny 3. Now, one of the big arguments against Destiny 3 is people point to Destiny 1 and 2 and unironically forget all the caveats around the development of Destiny 1 and 2, namely Activision Blizzard and 2 11th hour development reboots. Now, don't get me wrong, Activision Blizzard gave Bungie a lot of help, but they still held them to a timeline. And we can debate as to whether that timeline was an issue or not. It probably was. But then again, how did things get so bad before anyone noticed? All of this is academic anyways. Any conversation about Destiny 3 doesn't matter. Nothing is going to change until after Final Shape. All Bungie really has to do is keep the game running for the next 2 years while they develop their new IPs and help Sony create 12 more games as a service games by 2025. And their goal, they're coasting along to the tune of $3.6 billion plus whatever revenue the next 2 years brings, plus whatever revenue their new IP brings. Oh, sure, it behooves them to make minimal changes to Destiny as we've seen with the last couple of TWABs because, well, they want people to be interested and invested in their new IPs, but as we've seen time and time again with the Destiny community, any issue, any controversy is one 30-second trailer away from disappearing into the ether. Because what Bungie sells isn't a game. Not really, and it's not why Sony bought them. What Bungie sells isn't a game. It's a community, it's a lifestyle, it's a cult. And that's not a criticism on Bungie. That's a criticism on the way that consumers view products in general. It's the reason we have console wars. It's why we have Microsoft versus Sony versus Nintendo. It's why we have Call of Duty versus Halo, Fortnite versus Apex. It's because companies realized a long time ago that selling a product is hard. Selling a lifestyle is easy. That's why people are fanatical about products. I mean, think about it. Imagine just in general, because we know this happens on the internet. People telling other people to do horrible things to themselves over their opinion on a product. It is psychotic. But with Destiny, it's not just the promise of community. It's not just this cult-like fanaticism. You can be the most jaded Destiny player ever, and hope will still be there that we're just one patch away, one more DLC away, one more expansion away, and the game will be perfect. Hope is a hell of a drug. I think the biggest issue with games as a service games like Destiny, like Halo, like Anthem, is that they really want to be MMOs. But MMOs are a huge risk, and games as a service games companies want that money now, not later, not after putting in all the time and effort to make a good game. Because they have realized they can put out a minimally viable product, or at least try to, and if it fails, they cut their losses. If it succeeds, well, they can just continue what would have been a 6-year development cycle over the release of the game. And we see that time and time again. Either the game comes out half finished, unpolished, full of bugs, with very little to no content, and sometimes it succeeds, like Destiny, or sometimes it fades into obscurity, like Anthem. And then you have Halo, which is barely only still clinging on because of its community and its recently, well, more or less recently, released Forge tools. And you know what? Maybe that would be okay if these games as a service games like Halo, like Destiny, like Anthem, learned the lessons of MMOs, at least the MMOs they say they want to be. Imagine how much better of a game Destiny 2 would be if its mentality wasn't this fast over quality nonsense that we've seen in their GDC presentation, and was more like the humble Final Fantasy XIV mentality that we see in their GDC presentation. Running an MMORPG is like running a country. Learn to listen and adapt. A complaint is worth twice a compliment. The silent always leave first. If the citizens are complaining, it means they still care. What have we learned? Never forget the fans. Without them, there would be no us. Fun comes first. If it isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. Never back down. Always aim to amaze, never forget your roots. It's what the fans crave. Imagine that. The MMO that seeks to amaze is a far better and healthier game in general than the one that prioritizes speed over quality. When we compare Final Fantasy XIV to Destiny, the most common argument is, but Joker, Final Fantasy XIV and Destiny 2 are two different games, even though Bungie says they're both MMOs, and like, Destiny 2's dev tools are hard. Yeah, you know what? I agree. Destiny 2's dev tools are probably way harder to work with than Final Fantasy XIV's. But, Final Fantasy XIV is a vastly larger game with more content, more interlocking systems, and more things to go wrong. The key difference isn't developer tools. It's not studio size, as Bungie is way bigger than Creative Unit 3. The key difference is attitude and vision. But, to leave this video on a hopeful note, because I know most of this can sound dour and down and pessimistic, the state of the game doesn't have to be this way. Bungie has shown time and time again how incredibly talented they are when push comes to shove. It's just so aggravatingly disappointing that it takes the game getting to that state, or the community basically rioting, for Bungie to actually fix the game. See Taken King, see Forsaken, see even Witch Queen, which was a breath of fresh air after Shadowkeep, aka glorified Go Do Patrols, the DLC, and beyond shite. The reality is the game can be better. The community as a whole just has to stop settling for bare minimums. But that will never happen. Destiny is more of an idea. It's more hope. It's snake oil. Destiny is always one 30-second trailer away from everybody suddenly forgetting how bad the last year of content was, and hoping that this time it'll be better. No. Listen to me. This time it'll be better. No. This is the time it'll be better. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. And above all else, stay frosty.